Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. What a great stewardship sermon. Although October is National Stewardship Month. But it goes on further. This man who's got all this abundance here, looking pensive here in this picture, all this grain, not sure what to do with all his wealth. And yet God says, "You fool, this very night, your life is being demanded of you," meaning he's going to die. "And you have all these things, but whose will they be? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God." What a great sermon for planned giving, putting the church in your will. Did you know that that is the policy of the church? To put the Episcopal Church in your will? Some of us cannot tithe in our lifetime, but we can tithe in our death. We're 10% of our estate. Or in the Hebrew model, 23 to 24 to 25% of your estate. Oh, well, wait a minute. Right? This fall, we're going to talk more about planned giving. We just had the death of a beloved member of our church, Helen Simpson. And I don't know what her will says, but I'm guessing she probably put the church in her will. And what a gift. Now, I don't think it's really hard for your heirs, your children or grandchildren, to see that you put 10% of your estate to the church. A place that's going to bury you. A place that you come every Sunday for nurturing in the Lord, for God. That's the minimum, right? I don't think that your heirs will begrudge you of that. And we do need to form an endowment here. That's one of the reasons why I was asked to come here, having a financial background and having done this before. So this fall, we're going to have some experts come in. I'd really like to have had a bunch of lawyers out here today to redo your will for you today and to look at your financial package and picture and all that. But we'll do that in the fall when we have more experts here to do that. Such as Jim Hazel, many of you know him, with R.W. Baird Company, who handles the investments for our church. But we won't talk about that today. What I'd like to talk about is the gospel. When I took this call and started in February of 2015, I was finishing up my time at Parish Episcopal School as upper school chaplain. And so I was living in Richardson, and I was doing the round trip, 64-mile round trip until last August, when I was able to finish school and have some time to get it together and go through all my junk so I didn't have to move it. Of course, I moved a lot of that anyway, right? We all do that, right? And as I was moving over here and learning the back ways with the traffic and so forth, I'd come down Dove Road off of 114, or maybe Peytonville Avenue, and I thought of this gospel reading as I drive by, and it says, "Tear down my barn and build bigger barns. Tear down my barn and build starter castles in South Lake." I don't know what it is about the architects or whatever over here in Tarrant County. There's not a whole lot of turrets in Dallas County, and maybe that's the big thing, but these castles that are over here, and when I would drive over it coming from my little house in Richardson that was built in 1958, that had 1,200 square feet, but a big, beautiful backyard for my dogs, I thought, wow, I wonder what the air conditioning bill is on those. I wonder how many people it takes to clean those things. I had a friend over one time to visit the house and gave him a tour, and in my master bathroom at the time over there in Richardson, I lived over by Central and Arapahoe. in the master shower, as you may know from the houses built in that time frame, which you may live in one, you could just pull your arms in and just barely turn around. And my friend said, wow, 1,200 square feet. I couldn't live in a house this small. And I said, well, I didn't really invite you, so it's okay. But I felt a sermon coming on, and I couldn't help myself, and I said, and you may have heard this before, I can't remember if I've said this, I said, it's fine for me. I've got running water, clean water, hot water when I want it, cold water when I want it. I have a house made of brick. I have a roof over my head. Unlike the 2 billion people in this world who live on a garbage heap in Rio, or a shanty town in Bangladesh, or have cobbled together some metal things to make a lean-to in wherever they live. And somewhere along the way, and I don't know, maybe I've done this in the past, when we talk about our possessions, when do our possessions possess us? When do we lose sight of the things that are really necessary in life? Faith and family, and God and love, and friendships. The thing that gets us as a human being, and this is just natural, and it gets me too, money. The most written about topic in the New Testament, the love of money. Money, power, fame, wealth. All that kind of stuff. And yet this guy doesn't look very happy, does he? Because he doesn't know what to do with that. And if you don't do something with that, that's going to rot and go bad. When there were plenty of hungry people in ancient Israel. And sometimes we make the mistake, like in our first reading from Hosea, where we forget about the promised land of Israel, of the things that are important, and we stray off into the Egypt and going back to where it was good, or over to Assyria. Right? And yet we're called to think about, is bigger really better? Can we give away some of the things that we have that other people can enjoy? Or even just some time. Last Saturday, on the 23rd of July, I invited a cafeteria worker from my old school over with her family to swim in the pool and to have a cookout. Someone that I had gone to be with her husband when he was having major surgery in the hospitals in Dallas, whose little 18-month-old granddaughter had to have surgery at the Children's Hospital by Parkland. Someone who lived in Pleasant Grove, part of Dallas, and I don't know if you know about Dallas very well, but that's not a real nice area. And to come over and have a couple of hours of abundance and of joy and of blessings. So whatever you do where you give away things, money, love, talent, time, that's what the beauty is of this world, right? To be able to put some joy in someone's life, to give someone some hope, to allow them to understand that we look pretty miserable sitting in our castles, hoarding all the stuff we have. Somebody asked me on the Verizon before they changed it to Frontier, well, how many TVs do you have in your house and give you your cable box and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I see 1, 2. But there's another one, but well, do you want that hooked up? No, I can only watch TV in one room at one time. I had a friend in South Carolina who had 3 cars. I'm like, how do you drive 3 cars at one time? Right? There's nothing wrong with having nice things, but where along the way do we forget that possessions can possess us? Where along the way do we chase that brass ring and forget that the only ring that matters is the crown upon that guy's head? So today I want to talk to you about the epistle because this is my favorite passage in the New Testament. This is the Easter epistle, my friends. As a matter of fact, I have it on the back of this stole. This was made for me when I graduated from General Seminary with my second master's. A woman in Houston made this in the Diocese of Southeast Florida. The mission field is between the Everglades and the ocean. And I love the asymmetrical part of putting an egret here on this. And on the back of it is this passage from Colossians. Just 2 verses. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. Friends, when we die to the self, when we die to the things that possess us, we really do live into Christ in a deeper and more beautiful way. And when we die, our life is hidden with Christ. It's like, to me, a visual of a cloak that he wraps around us. It says, you are now mine forever. When we make that step. And then what happens? Well, at those last few moments, just like with Helen the other day, when Christ, who is your life, is revealed, you also will be revealed with him in glory. That's what the real castle is, right? That's what the real kingdom is. When I was up in New York, I lived in 400 square feet of space, and I was very blessed because I had twice as much than the MDiv student, because I was a senior person doing my second degree. They had 200 space, and I had 400, and it worked fine. You know, I love that show on TV, House Hunters International. If you notice, in Europe, there's a lot less space, right? But people still live, right? What do we do with all this space, right? Or it's the stuff we have. Where can you be hidden with Christ and to give away, to share that abundance, to invite someone over to your pool, to allow them to have an opportunity that they may not have had? Now, I hope I haven't offended anybody here, because if you have a castle, I'd love to come over and invite me over for dinner. Love to have a glass of wine or whatever, you know. It's all good. I can see how the other half lives, you know. That's all good. I might have to check your pledge amount, but that's good. But see, I don't know what anybody pledges. That's the beauty, because everyone's the same before God, right? We do what we can out of abundance of love, right? Finally, I want to ask if anybody here today knows what happened 50 years ago tomorrow. 50 years ago tomorrow in our country, August the 1st, 1966. Anybody? John?
The Dallas shooter.
Shooter down in Austin. You're wearing orange. How could you? UT shooter, right? UT shooter. I was listening on Monday this week to NPR about a couple of stories of the survivors, and one woman said, she said, that day brought a hurt into my body that has never quite gone away. Another woman, I thought this was so profound, she said, I have guilt that I survived and others did not. So I decided to make something of my life. I didn't want to disappoint God. I didn't want to waste the opportunities to do something since I lived. I didn't want to waste the opportunity to do something since she lived. Life is here and then it's gone sometimes, right? Look at the news with all the shootings. Where are you on that spectrum of making something of your life? Where are you in the realm of dying to self and taking on that mantle of Christ, being hidden with him in God? The joy on those children's face of going into a swimming pool was something I will never forget. And it's more than my 48-inch TV will ever be worth. May God remind us of those things, not only this day, but always. Amen.